Hey everybody, it's Andrew back again with another video, and today we have the review of the Teclast X3 Pro. It's the 2-in-1 device that may or may not be the king of the 2-in-1s. I also have the pen. Let's find out if it's a buy or a don't buy.
As you know, we unboxed the X3 Pro last week, and we were very excited about this because it has 8 gigabytes of RAM, a 128 gigabyte SSD, and instead of an Atom Cherry Trail processor that we've seen at many of the Chinese tablets as of late, this has a Core M3 Skylake processor. So we are expecting stepped up performance. Let's see if it lives up to the hype. Let's see if it is the king of the Chinese 2-in-1s. I ordered the X3 Pro about a couple of weeks ago from gearbest.com. I'll put the link below. I paid about $475 and another $30 or so for the keyboard dock. So it came out to around $500 with a small discount, and I was pleasantly surprised that it did arrive within a couple of weeks. So good job, GearBest, getting this to me from China. What arrived was the tablet itself as well as the keyboard dock. The pen was ordered separately from banggood.com. I will put the link below to where you can buy that. Now, as far as ports are concerned, the Teclast X3 provides the following. You have your power button, your volume rocker up and down on that one side. On the other side, you have your 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, your micro HDMI out, that's a nice touch to connect to a monitor, your micro SD card slot, which supports up to 128 gigabyte SD cards or micro SD cards, 2 USB 3.0 ports, good touch, and your charging port. The top of the tablet has nothing, and on the bottom of the tablet is your keyboard connector. On the front of the device, a 2 megapixel front-facing webcam, decent quality. On the back, a 5 megapixel rear-facing camera, also decent quality. Not bad for a Chinese tablet. And you have 2 rear-facing speakers. As far as the display is concerned, it has an 11.6-inch 1080p display with a resolution of 1920 by 1080. It has a 16 by 9 aspect ratio, and the screen is not laminated, which means there's a slight gap between the panel and the glass, which is not quite as good as a Surface Pro 4, which is a little bit brighter and definitely a lot more crisp. Now, the screen has pretty good viewing angles despite the fact that it's not laminated, and the brightness is okay, but I wish it did get a little bit brighter. So overall, the screen is okay, not the best in class for certain. One of the Chinese tablets that I've recently unboxed and reviewed is the Chewy HI12, both the Windows-only version and the dual boot version, as you see here. It has a much better display. It has a higher resolution display with 2160 by 1440. In fact, it uses the same screen as a Surface Pro 4. I wish the Teclast X3 employed such a screen. If it did, I think this would have been the king of the Chinese tablets. That's my opinion. In order to give you an idea of how the screen looks, I turned down some of the lights to give you a better view. Take a look at this screen with the lights dimmed. It's not bad, again, not best in class. As far as design is concerned, it has the same exact hardware as its predecessor, the Teclast X2. It's a decent quality product, a decent build, and it's pretty solid in hand. It does have rather large bezels and has a rather unfortunate, very pointy corners, making for very uncomfortable handling for long periods of time. This is a major design flaw in my opinion. I found that the corners were digging in my hands after extended use. Not a good design choice, Teclast. For the future, please round out the edges to make it more comfortable to hold in long-term use. As far as the stylus is concerned, it was purchased from banggood.com. I'll put the link below to where you can find more information regarding the stylus. It uses the same stylus as its predecessor, the X2 Pro. It comes with a quadruple A battery. It's shipped from China, and it took about 2 weeks to get to me from Banggood. Now, as far as feel and pressure sensitivity, it does have pretty good feel. It does have pressure sensitivity. It has 2 buttons on the pen, and it has a very hard nib on the top. We'll talk more about the nib on the top when we talk about the one-note test. As far as pen technology is concerned, we're not sure what they are using. Teclast did not reveal what the pen technology that it uses, and it certainly didn't say so in the documentation that the pen came with. So that is still a mystery. We can tell you that it does not use the Wacom technology, as we did try one and it did not work.
Let's do a demonstration of OneNote to see how the pen performs. Now, I'm drawing a diagonal line, and it seems to be pretty good. It's not bad, but let me show you something. You have to get very close to the screen in order for the pen to register. It doesn't seem to have good recognition until you sort of hit the glass itself. Some other tablets, such as the Surface Pro 4, it picks it up at right about there. And here, there's no registration until you actually touch the screen. Another thing, the pen nib is very hard. So when you're touching this hard glass, it's making noises. And if you're in a meeting taking notes, that might be an issue. Now, another thing that I'm not sure what's going on with this is palm rejection. So when I rest my palm, it doesn't register. So there's no palm rejection, or at least the technology that they're trying to implement here, and I'm not sure what Teclast is trying to do here, there's no palm rejection, it seems, or at least that the technology it's using is not working properly, at least not with OneNote. So you can take notes with this, you can draw on it, it has pressure sensitivity as I just demonstrated, but it may not be the most ideal. I think the Surface Pen, the Surface Pen is a lot better.
As far as the keyboard dock is concerned, it arrived with the tablet and was purchased as a $34.89 accessory. See the link below from GearBest.com. As far as additional ports, it provides one USB 2.0. Nice touch, Teclast. I like that very much. As far as the trackpad is concerned, I found it a bit undersized and it wasn't as responsive as I had hoped it would be. So I was a little bit disappointed in the trackpad. And I found myself turning it off because it was getting in the way. Now, speaking of the keyboard, the key travel was decent, but there was one major flaw that it did have. It has a very undersized shift key, which I found myself missing and hitting the arrow keys instead, causing mistypes and accuracy to suffer. So this is a major design flaw as far as I'm concerned. Teclast needs to improve that in the next iteration. Now, as far as how many fixed angles you get with this keyboard dock, you get only one angle. Unlike the Surface Pro 4, the Surface Pro 3, or even the Surface 3 that has multiple viewing angles. This has one fixed position, something I would like to see changed in future iterations. And unlike the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Pro 3 and Surface 3, this keyboard is not backlit, something I would like to see Chinese tablets implement in the future. Teclast, I'd like to see a backlit keyboard in future iterations. As far as performance is concerned, the Teclast X3 Pro did pretty well. On the Geekbench test, we ran it through some performance analysis. On the single core score, it did a 2253. On the multi-core score, it did a 4503. Not bad. As far as the SSD is concerned, on the Crystal Diskmark test that we ran it through, it did a 3019 on the read and a 207.2 on the write. As far as the 4K score is concerned, it did a 9.294 on the read and a very healthy 57.90 on the write. Performance was pretty good on this device. In order to test audio quality, let's take a look and a listen at our latest video, the review of the Jumper EasyPad 5S flagship. Is it a buy or a don't buy? Check out the link below to find out. In the meantime, let's take a listen and see how the audio quality is on the Teclast X3 Pro.
Hey everybody, it's Andrew back again with another video, and today we have the review of the Jumper EasyPad 5S flagship. The 2-in-1 from China that may or may not compete with the Surface Pro 4 or even the Surface 3. Let's find out if it's a buy or a don't buy.
As you can hear, the sound on the X3 Pro was disappointing. It sounded tinny and the volume wasn't loud enough.
So overall, is the Teclast X3 Pro a buy or a don't buy? Well, I'm going to have to say it depends. What I mean is, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for a tablet out of China with something other than 4 gigabytes of RAM, other than an eMMC, and other than an Atom processor, this may be it. It's the only one that I know of that has 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabyte SSD. One thing I like about this is its performance. As you saw from the Geekbench test and as you saw from the Crystal Disk Mark scores, it did very well, especially when you compare it to what average fare we've been getting out of the eMMCs that you see in those Chinese tablets we've been reviewing lately. Here's what I don't like about the device. I don't like its battery life. I thought I was going to get anywhere from 7 to 8 hours because I thought this is a Core M processor, fanless. I'm hoping to get 7 to 8 hours. I was only able to get barely 6. And I think that's a little bit disappointing since the fact that it does weigh a little bit more than your average tablet. There is room here for the battery, although it didn't do well in that category. So I'm a little disappointed in Teclast in that they didn't really improve the battery over the X2. Another thing I'm not crazy about is its design. Although it has a nice solid construction and it does feel somewhat premium, I don't like its square edges that are just uncomfortable to hold, as I demonstrated in this video. Also, what I'm a little bit disappointed is in the screen. Although it's a 1080p 1920 by 1080 display, I felt that it could have been better. I was much more impressed with the Chewy HI12's Surface Pro 3 screen, which has a resolution of 2160 by 1440. And this looked a little bit washed out and brightness wasn't quite up to snuff in my opinion. So the screen itself wasn't the best in class. Another area I was disappointed in is in this, the pen. I thought this was going to be a better experience, and I was quite disappointed to find out that it needed to get very close to the screen in order for it to register any pen marks or any pen registration. And it also has a hard nib at the top here, and it was very uncomfortable to write with. And when you press it against a hard glass, it just makes too much noise and it just wasn't comfortable, and it certainly didn't have that pen to paper feel that we got from the Surface Pro 4 Core M. Check out that video when I demonstrated that in its review. So the pen overall to me was a bit of a disappointment. Although you still can take notes, still may be able to use it, I just didn't like it as much as say the Surface Pen or any of the other pens I've tested to date. Another thing I'm disappointed in is its keyboard dock. Although the keys were nicely spaced out and had pretty good key travel, the fact that the shift key, the right shift key to be specific, was too small and I kept missing it and hitting one of the arrow keys caused me to mistype. And I thought that was a big problem. And it made it almost to the point where I couldn't even use this keyboard dock. Now there is another keyboard supposedly that will be available for this. It's more of a Surface-like type cover, and I saw it on the GearBest.com website, and it's pictured with it as you see here. So far is not available anywhere that I've seen, so I'm still on the lookout for that. However, once it does become available, I will try to get my hands on it and review it with this device. Finally, I'm disappointed in its weight. It's a very heavy and hefty tablet. I thought it was way too heavy for a tablet, and with its keyboard dock, there is substantial heft. As you saw from holding it in my hands with its rather squared edges, it was very uncomfortable to hold in your hand for extended periods of time. The corners kept digging into my hands and was very uncomfortable. Who is this tablet really for? Maybe for those looking for a tablet out of China with something other than 4 gigabytes of RAM, something other than an Atom processor, and something other than an eMMC. This has 8 gigabytes of RAM, this has 128 gigabyte SSD, this has the Core M Skylake processor. So for those who want performance out of the tablets out of China and not pay a premium, this might be it. Although the price itself is not too bad. It comes in at around $475 with the keyboard dock around $500. It might be a little too expensive for my taste, especially since it didn't get a redesign from the X2 Pro. And I think that's where they missed out. And there are other options out there, such as the Surface Pro 4 or the Surface 3 or any of the other Surface line. So overall, it is maybe a buy depending on what you want to do with this. But the negatives, I think, outweigh the positives in this device. But then again, that's a choice you're going to have to make. So take that for what it's worth. Stay tuned. We got great things scheduled here at AMD Tech. I have a special unboxing and review coming up next week. On its way to the studios here at AMD Tech is the HP Chromebook 13. It's the premium Chromebook that HP just announced with its higher end look, hopefully stepped up performance. It's got a very high res screen, and I'm looking forward to testing it out once it arrives here early next week in our studios. So stay tuned for that. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video, and don't forget to leave any comments below in the comment section and let me know if you'd like me to test any other devices, and I will do my best to try to make it happen. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya.